Now, I have been a huge Apple fan since I was a kid. I still remember the keynote in which Steve Jobs introduced the new iPhone 4S back in 2010. I remember watching this with my father, thinking that this was going to be the new future of what we call a phone. Now, why am I telling you this story? Well, you see, people tend to look back at the past and think that that was the best time of their lives. Now, while there is a small bit of truth to that, I think we are underestimating how much privileged we are to have the things that we have in the present. Back to the Apple story, in 2017, Apple introduced the iPhone X along with the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. Now, at the time, this was the first time that Apple introduced a phone without the home button. And at the time, the critics were incredibly aggressive towards Apple. And so were the fans. The fans were complaining. Most of the fans were saying, we don't like the new Face ID unlock, we want the home button back, Apple is falling off, stuff like that. Fast forward a few years later, now people are saying that the time which Apple peaked was back in 2017 when they introduced the iPhone X. Okay, now let us just put that example aside, saying maybe it's not the best example, alright? Apple introduced the iPhone 12. I think it was during the COVID times, Apple introduced the iPhone 12, 12 Pro and 12 Pro Max. And at the time, they spent a lot of time talking about the 5G compatibility and other stuff like that. The fans were not happy at all. They were complaining, putting out bad reviews, even before the phone even came out. Fast forward another few years later, now people are saying the iPhone 12 and the 12 Pro Max were one of the best phones that they ever made. People tend to complain on the things that they get right now. And fast forward a couple of years later, they'll be glamorizing about it. They will be glamorizing the product that was released maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Let's take another example. Fortnite. I used to play Fortnite back in 2018, I believe, or 2019, up until 2021. When I started playing, let's say around 2018, people were saying that Fortnite peaked back in 2017 when they first introduced it. Even in YouTube comments on big streamers like Ninja and Tfue, they were saying the 2017 era cannot be matched. Fast forward a couple of years later, in 2022, people are saying Fortnite peaked in 2020. Fast forward another couple of years later, now people are saying Fortnite may have peaked in 2023 or maybe in 2022. You do see a pattern over here. People tend to complain on what they have now, and then a couple of years later, they will be glamorizing it. They won't stop talking about how good the good old days were. But really think about it. Were the good old days actually that good? Back in 2017, you could not get an iPhone in which you could record at incredibly good quality and use it for the entire day without charging it at least twice. And I'm not talking about just phones and games. It also goes for movies, songs, etc, etc. We could go on the entire day talking about this, but there's no reason because that is human nature. People tend to undermine what they have today and overestimate what they had maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So next time you talk bad about what you have right now, just don't waste your words. Be smarter because you'll be glamorizing about it in a couple of years later.